And then he addressed acts of mercy. Look at verse 7, same chapter, verse 7. But if you had known what this means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. If you had only known, you Pharisees, you supposed to be religious leaders, if you had only known what this saying means, I desire mercy. God is saying, the Father says, I desire mercy, a readiness to help, a readiness to spare, a readiness to forgive. I desire mercy rather than sacrifice and sacrificial victims, lambs and oxen and bullocks and doves and all these things. He says, I desire mercy more so than those things, more than the sacrifice, more than the sacrificial animals. He said, if you'd understood that, if you had known and you'd understood that and you'd seen that, you wouldn't have condemned those who were guiltless in the service of God and doing the necessary things. So, acts of necessity, acts of service to God, acts of mercy, and then acts of kindness. Acts of kindness. Look at verse 9. When he was departed thence, he went to the synagogue. And behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? They were being a little sarcastic, a little smart-alecky, that they might accuse him. And he said unto them, what man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore, it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Then saith he to the man, stretch forth your hand. And he stretched it forth and was restored whole like as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him. Over an act of kindness. Get the picture here. Now, they had already rebuked him because they ate corn. They picked corn and ate it on the Sabbath day. And so now he enters the temple. There's a man there with a withered hand, and they asked him, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? They didn't think you were supposed to heal. If you could heal something like that, you shouldn't do it on the Sabbath day. How ridiculous is that? How ridiculous does religion get people bent all out of whack and all out of shape? We have people sitting in our churches right now. They've been saved, but they still need deliverance in a number of ways. They still need to be delivered from religion. The negative aspects of religion. There's some positive aspects, but the negative aspects of religion, they need deliverance from them. And so, they say, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? And so he said to them, listen, if you have a sheep and he gets trapped in a ditch or pit of some kind, are you going to let him stay there until the next day when great harm could come to him being stuck there? A wild beast could catch him there and rend him. A serpent could catch him there and bite him. Or, he's trapped and he can't get out. He needs help. So that's part of your livestock. That's part of your livelihood. That was not a condemned act to go in and help that animal, get that animal out of that fix. And it's kind of a great example of what the Lord does for us as dumb sheep. That sheep, he's there, not of any fault of his own. He just didn't have no better sense. He just somehow or another finagled around and got trapped. Well, how many times as God's people, we finagle around, we got more sense than regular sheep are supposed to. But yeah, we get ourselves in a mess because of some bad choices we made, bad decisions we made. But then the shepherd, the great shepherd, whether it's the Sabbath, whether it's Sunday, or any other day of the week, will reach down and get us out of the ditch and get us out of trouble. And so he said, if your animal's like that, aren't you going to take the time, whatever day it falls on, to get that animal to safety? He says, and then he makes a profound statement. How much better, how much more valuable is a man than a sheep? And that's a rhetorical question, because he gives the answer. Yes, it is lawful. It is allowable to do good on the Sabbath day. In answer to your question, yes, it's lawful for me to heal this man. But I want you to notice here, after he said that, and there's another passage where the same thing happens again. We'll look at it over Mark. There's another passage, but where it tells us, and it didn't say so here, but I believe the Lord is getting a little irritated with their nonsensical questions, their nonsensical combative ways. And he tells this man, stretch forth your hand. Stick it out. And it says, he stretched it forth and he was restored whole like as the other. And then after that, the Pharisees went out and they started holding counsel against, they started having their little meetings, their little secret meetings and all this kind of stuff. And figuring out how they could kill him. Not all because, but in large part due to the fact that he would not obey their little man-made commandments, their little man-made appendixes that they made to the law that God never intended for them to make. And so, acts of necessity, acts of service, acts of mercy, and acts of kindness there's never a day that those need to be set aside, and they wouldn't be lawful. So, flip over to Mark chapter 2 for just a moment.